Welcome, everybody. I guess now I can make it live. Welcome. Call the meeting to order. If we could have roll call, please.
Alderman Clark.
Here.
Alderman Mayberry.
Here.
Alderman Spargettis.
Here.
Alderman Talanair.
Present.
Alderman Parker.
Here.
Alderman Ship.
Here.
Alderman Geenan, absent. Mayor Tomes.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance, please. If we could just have a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much.
Minutes of the meeting of June 12, 2017.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Item number 6.
Minutes of the executive session of June 12, 2017.
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Update. Starlight Review Summer Concerts. The Park and Rec Department series of concerts in Lincoln Park continues this Tuesday, June 20th. Tomorrow night, the Josh Duffy Orchestra will perform at 7 p.m. along with a dance lesson starting at 6:30. I could use that. Make a night of it and enjoy the food and drink for purchase from Hy-Vee Grill starting at 5 p.m. Call the Rain Line if you have any questions at 309-732-7246 to check the status. Good Old Days. As part of the Museum Week, Bob Motz will give an illustrated talk about the early history of Blackhawk State Park. The presentation will begin at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, June 21st, at the Watchtower Lodge, I think is Watchtower Lodge. It's exactly at 1510 46th Avenue, Rock Island. For more information on this free event, please call 309-788-9537. If anybody's heard Dr. Motz, or Bob Motz talk, he does a great job. He's very knowledgeable there at the park. Genesis Guild presents Shakespeare on Saturday, June 24th, and Sunday, June 25th. The Genesius Guild will present Shakespeare, The Comedy of Errors, in the beautiful Lincoln Park. Take on this unique classic theater experience and enjoy the free shows starting at 8 p.m. both nights. For information, please visit www.genesius.org. Interactive Movie Night. Interact with characters on the screen. Use props and points in the movie and much more as you get tangled in the original 1971 movie Charlie in the Chocolate Factory at the main library branch downtown, Tuesday, June 27th. Call the library at 309-732-7360 to sign up and register. Thank you. Number 8.
Presentation of the Auditor's Financial Report for calendar year 2016.
Tim, would you be able to fix that? Great. So tonight we present to you our 2016 audit, and here with us are representatives from Bonsack and Fromelt, and they are our external auditors. The audit field work takes place over quite a few weeks and months as they're here on site and working both on site and off site, and every department plays a role in the audit process. You should all have access to the audit documents. There are four documents, one of them being the audit itself. We often refer to it as the CAFR, and in addition, inside of that are 2 communications to the auditors, or from the auditors to the council, along with the TIF report. If you need some bedtime reading, my suggestion on reading the audit is to focus on a few of the sections, one of them being the MD&A and the transmittal letter. But my favorite section, I always say, is the statistical section. And the statistical section is at the back of the document, and it gives a 10-year history of the audited results and lots of useful information. After tonight's meeting, the CAFR will be located on the website and available for public viewing. In addition, just wanted to remind you that the city is a recipient of the GFOA Award for Excellence, and we do consider this document that's been prepared to also qualify for that award. Before I turn the podium over to our audit partners, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my staff. And so Linda Barnes is here tonight, and she and her team are instrumental in facilitating the audit process and all of the work that goes into that. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight to present your December 31st, 2016 financial audit report. I'm going to start with the presentation that you've received, but by all means, if you have any questions throughout, feel free to ask me or myself. The agenda, we're going to go through the required communications and then look at total revenues, total expenditures, the general fund, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the results of the government auditing standards audit and also the single audit that we perform. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about the required communications. And so these are the communications that we're required as your auditors to give to you, the City Council, annually. When we come out to do an audit of the City of Rock Island, as Stephanie mentioned, it does take a significant amount of time. But while we're out here, we do 3 different types of audits. The first one is the financial statement audit. That's over the financial numbers of the city. The second type is called a government auditing standards audit. The purpose of that audit is to document the internal controls of the city and then to test them to make sure they're functioning as they were designed to function, so your check and balance system. And then the other part of that audit is to look at your compliance with laws, regulations, and contracts and to make sure that you've adhered to those as well. And the last type of audit we do is over your federal dollars that you receive at the city. This year you received a little bit over $3.6 million in federal dollars. All of these opinions were unmodified opinion, which is the highest form of opinion that you can receive. So that's a good news. There were some findings in the government auditing standards audit and the federal single audit, and Mia will go through those at the end. The other 2 things to communicate to you is through the audit process, it's at a point in time, and so there are some estimates that management makes. We have reviewed those estimates and concur with them. And then within the letter that you received, it also has any entries that we made throughout the audit process, and so that's for your review as well. Did you just write? Oops. Oh.
Okay, the next slide starts the summary of the financial information. And this slide looks at total revenues of the city comparing this 2016 to 2015 in total, all funds. And the total revenue for the city at the end of 2016 was $72.3 million compared to $70.4 million the year before. It's about a 1,800,000 change, or a 2.6% increase. There are increases in almost all of the categories. So just to point out the significant ones, charges for services, that's going to include ambulance, it's going to include water, sewer, solid waste, refuse, and the city did approve some rate increases in those, not for a full year, but they were prorated as those became effective. So we were expecting an increase in charges for services. Grants and contributions is where you find all state and federal grants and awards, and that changes based on your grant activities. So there's very little change there. And then property taxes has increased largely because of assessed valuation. Those had gone up at about 4%, and we're looking at these collections would be based on your 2015 levy that were collected. And the next slide is on expenses. And you also have an increase in expenses of about 7 million or 10% when you compare 2016 to 2015. Most of that increase is going to be due to benefit liabilities and expenditures, which are your police and fire pension expenditures, which increased 3.5 million. IMRF pension increased 2 million, and other post-employment benefits is approximately a 700,000 increase. And those increases are not necessarily the benefit payments. They're actually a liability that's actuarially determined, and those continue to rise. The other change is that the city did improve a wage increase of 2% for the year, but full-time equivalents also decreased, so you did not see much of a change in your total payroll between years. And next, we really focus in on the general fund as your main operating fund, and this shows you a history over time of the unreserved or unrestricted fund balance or equity of that fund. It represents right now about 3 months of the general fund's operating expenditures, which is right in line with the government finance officer's recommended fund balance. And that is that you have a reserve in your general fund in the event there were delays in state or federal funding, that you could operate at 3 months. So that's where they get their benchmark. Okay. As Sarah mentioned, we do 2 additional audits, the government auditing standards audit and the single audit. There is a summary in the audit report. It starts on page 189 if you're interested, that goes through these results. And I would like to point out the first 2 bullets where we refer to the Parks and Recreation cash receipts and cash disbursements and the payroll. Those have been corrected. So those have been findings reported in the prior year that during 2016 the city implemented additional processes and controls, and those are no longer a finding. So I did want to point out the movement in a positive direction there. And then the last 3 bullets are current year findings. They're really around access level controls over cash disbursements and cash receipts, which we've discussed with management, and there's some recommended ideas to improve controls there. And as Sarah mentioned, there was an unmodified opinion, so no concerns over compliance. And last, your federal dollars. You have 2 very large programs. One is the Community Development Block Grant, and one is the Illinois EPA grant. The Community Development Block Grant was required to be tested this year. There are some significant deficiencies, some findings, and there are over some monitoring controls, suspension and debarment, and environmental reviews. Some of these are the result of some HUD reviews that have taken place. The city's in the process of taking the results of those reviews and changing procedures and processes. And there's been, as you know, some transition in that department. So some of these controls, we do have recommendations as well to help improve that. And then no findings, compliance findings, so it's still an unmodified opinion. And the last bullet, we do issue one separate letter. It's really, it's not findings, it's more on the observations, advisory level of, as we're here, we observe other things that might be of interest to you, and so that's in that separate letter for your review. So that's a lot in a summary, but
That
I'm...
big book, all the way down to
Yeah.
that.
Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Yes, on page 7, please.
Yep.
You said under Park and Recreation and under payroll, those two were corrected. Were they corrected in the positive for the city or
Yes.
in the negative?
Yes, additional controls were put into place to improve the processes around cash receipts, disbursements, and payroll. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I guess that's it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I had one question, Mayor.
Yes.
The two ladies, and they're probably not familiar with it. Are you Bonzak and Fromel?
Yes.
Normally, we have people to announce so the people at home know who's up there, and I took it for granted that's who they were, but people sitting at home might not.
Point well made. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Item number 9.
A special ordinance vacating a segment of a right-of-way east of 24th Street and south of the Rock Island Fitness and Activity Center reserved as River Heights Road.
Motion to consider suspend the rules and pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
I would like to make sure that this is put on the tax rolls, though. If we're giving it away, they ought to be able to pay taxes on it.
Should we,
Yeah, it will. That's most reassuring. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Clark.
Aye.
Alderman Mayberry.
Aye.
Alderman Spargattis.
Yes.
Alderman Talonera.
Yes.
Alderman Parker.
Aye.
Alderman Ship.
Yes.
6 ayes, no nays. Motion carried.
Item number 10.
Claims. Report from the Public Works Department regarding payment in the amount of $60,639.43 to Compass Minerals of Atlanta, Georgia for the purpose of purchase of rock salt. And report from the Public Works Department regarding payment in the amount of $96,605 to Electric Pump of Des Moines, Iowa for the emergency purchase and installation of 2 flight sewage pumps and all associated appurtenances.
Move to accept the reports and authorize payments as recommended.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Clark.
Aye.
Mayberry.
Aye.
Spargattis.
Yes.
Talonera.
Yes.
Parker.
Aye.
Ship.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Motion carried.
Item number 11.
Claims for the week of June 9th through June 15th in the amount of $218,710.45.
Move to allow the claims.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Clark.
Aye.
Mayberry. Spargattis.
Yes.
Talonera.
Yes.
Parker.
Aye.
Ship.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Motion carried.
Item number 12.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a lease agreement for the Sunset Marina apartment.
Move to approve the lease as written and authorize the city manager to execute the lease agreement.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Who is the landlord in this situation? Is that the city manager, public works director? I'm just
I
interested.
thought it was the mayor.
Is it the mayor? Is it the members of this council?
Who would have the final legal say, but the marina manager coordinates it down there, and if any work needs to be done, it would be worked through Public Works.
And if there were a legal issue that would come up because the city council makes the decisions regarding city property, I would guess that it would have to come before city council for any type of legal action that might be taken, obviously with the recommendation of whoever was overseeing it for your approval.
I drive by it on a regular basis, but
I just wanted to inform the body of their responsibility. Now we have an added duty here.
it's a nice view. It's a great place. Could we have roll call, please?
Alderman Clark.
Aye.
Mayberry.
Aye.
Spargattis.
Yes.
Talonera.
Yes.
Parker.
Aye.
Ship.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Motion carried.
Item number 13.
Report from the city clerk regarding a resolution approving the partial release of executive session minutes and the destruction of audio recordings for the same executive session meetings.
Move to approve the partial release of the executive session minutes as recommended and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Can you speak about the required process of destroying the recordings?
Right.
What's the process? I've had some people ask me about this.
The process is that prior to starting the clock for the time running for the destruction of the audio recordings, you have to have an approval of the minutes. And so what this will do then, and these are all for meetings that I believe the youngest of which was, I think, like 2009, 2007, I'm sorry, that we've have had a backlog of those recordings, and then this allows us to start the clock running for the destruction. So it's not an immediate destruction.
Is there any time requirement that the actual recordings be released to the public, or is just the partial minutes all that's required to be?
Yeah, that is correct. Only the partial minutes are what is required. Okay. That is correct. And the statute also sets the look-back period. Actually, if you wanted to take a look at, there's also, these are well beyond the limitation for anyone who wanted to take a look at those minutes, has expired as well.
Yeah, what is that look-back period, Dave?
The look-back period now, I believe, is a 6-month period. I can get you a definite answer on that. They recently changed it, but I believe it is a 6-month period that we're looking at now.
And the look-back period, what does that give? I assume you're talking about Citizen?
Yes, that's correct.
Into it?
Yes.
Well, I mean, does that give them a release of the full minutes? You know?
It may.
Okay.
It depends on what information is in there, and that could be something, as I think you're somewhat familiar with, going through the AG's process. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Proud to have done so.
Very good. Could we have roll call, please?
Alderman Clark.
Aye.
Mayberry.
Aye.
Spargettis.
Yes.
Talon-Air.
Yes.
Parker.
Aye.
Ship.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Motion carried.
Item number 14.
Report from the Parks and Recreation Department regarding a highway resolution for the closure of First Avenue between 17th Street and 20th Street on Monday, July 3rd, 2017, from noon to 11 p.m., along with the rain date of Tuesday, July 4th, 2017, and a flood date in September, if needed, for a fireworks display and concert at Schwiebert Riverfront Park.
Move to approve the street closing as recommended and adopt the resolution.
Second.
And any discussion?
I have a question, and I don't know who to ask. Are people allowed to just sit in the street then? I mean, not in the walkways, but I mean, if it's closed during the program? I mean, it gets really congested right there at the...
They're allowed to sit on the sidewalks. They're not allowed to sit in the street.
Okay.
And we shuttle back and forth for those that can't make it. We have 2 shuttles that'll be running.
Sure. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good weather.
Always is. Share something across the river. Roll call, please.
Alderman Clark.
Aye.
Mayberry.
Aye.
Spargettis.
Yes.
Talon-Air.
Yes.
Parker.
Aye.
Ship.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Motion carried.
Item number 15.
Report from the Traffic Engineering Committee regarding a request from Jake Meisenbach for the installation of yield signs at the intersection of 31st Street and 22nd Avenue.
Or is there anyone make a motion to approve the sign on 31st Avenue and 31st Street and 22nd Avenue?
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to ask if there's anybody out there that would like to come up and speak about that to the podium. Is there anyone here?
Been moved in second. We're open for discussion. No?
I'm sorry. Yes. Is there anyone here who would like to
I don't
speak
think so.
against it?
Well, and for
I would like to ask Alderman Ship to remove his second. Will that die like a motion?
I just my
Sure.
question here. I'm fine to do that, but just to Randy here, The source of the request, we list as the fire department. Is this an individual, a city employee within the fire department? Under source of request right there on top.
It was requesting it as a private individual, though.
Oh, okay. Do you have any idea why it says fire department there? Oh, so they were requesting it as a private individual, but they are.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So they may have some, okay, so that, I mean, do we ultimately plan on approving this or not approving it?
Staff recommended not, but I mean,
Well,
usually.
that's what I was going to ask.
Usually
What
if somebody
staff
wants to
recommend?
sign, I give it to them, but they should show up to ask for it.
Right.
Is my level.
So was yours in the form of a motion? I thought you were asking if there was anyone here.
Well, I did make a poor motion, and then I got it seconded so we could talk about it. And I thought maybe somebody out there was wanting to talk about it, and, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question I'd like to ask as long as we're discussing
sure.
this, because it's going to come up, not necessarily this intersection again, but other intersections. One of the inclusions in the report was the warrants for yield signs. It was the last page. I have a paper copy as well as the electronic copy. And it says the yield sign may be warranted, and then it lists, I think, 5 different conditions. It doesn't say you have to meet all of them, but the first one is at the entrance to an intersection where it is necessary to assign right-of-way and where the safe approach speed on the entrance exceeds 10 miles per hour. So I went and looked at the intersection and drove the street and the avenue both directions, and I also observed a couple of other cars. 10 miles per hour isn't very fast.
It's barely moving.
So if it's necessary to assign the right-of-way, because there is no traffic control at that intersection, and where the safe approach speed on the entrance exceeds 10 miles an hour, which it did, does that mean that you could warrant a yield sign under those conditions?
Well, it doesn't. You don't need. Can you read that again? So.
I'll let you read it.
So it's not necessary to assign a right-of-way there, because on an uncontrolled intersection, whoever's to the right and gets there first gets to go. So that would be if there was some unusual circumstance where you needed to assign a right-of-way that didn't follow the normal traffic pattern.
Yeah, that was in a preceding page, but I wasn't sure how that was
Yeah.
connected.
So basically, nothing in here met the engineering traffic warrants, which is typical for every residential intersection.
Right.
And that would be, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, to anyone who is requesting a stop sign or a yield sign, it's in your interest, I think, to come to the meeting, or if you can't come to the council meeting, to send someone or to have a petition or something, because here we are, and there wasn't even a stipulation as to which right-of-way, whether it was the street or the avenue that they wanted the yield sign on. There's no indication. So it's kind of hard for the council to make a decision. In this case, I feel, other than go along with the staff recommendation, unless someone feels strongly otherwise.
Which I do, for the reason that staff almost always recommends against these, for the reasons that Randy cites. I mean, there is a set code out there. Sorry, I'm trying to find where I was here, about the traffic flow and all this, that, or the other, and that's all good. That's engineers, they look at those things very technically, very specifically, and that's what makes sense on paper. This individual, though, wrote into the city an email and detailing that there are many children in this neighborhood. He may be working tonight. As he indicates, his wife, along with her young kids, have almost been T-boned on numerous occasions due to no signage either direction. I take this individual at his word. We've asked this person to be a firefighter for this city, and I think this is an earnest request. I think, we're talking about putting yield signs in here, not stop signs. I think if these signs in any event, stop one car, cause one car to slow down, these signs are sitting in the sign shop. I mean, put them up. I think that I'll maintain my second.
Okay, and I'll,
Call for the vote.
you bet.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
I think you might have to have a roll call.
Is it 3-3 tie?
I think it was. I think you're
Well,
going
I
to
didn't- I didn't-
A show of hands or
No,
something.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Who were the noes?
No, just call the roll, right? Just, that's what you do?
It's not a
It's
roll
a
call
voice.
vote.
Well, when it's a,
voice vote,
when you can't discern,
but If you do, I think you do it
Okay.
by show of hands.
Do it
or by
however you
roll
wanna
call,
do it.
Either one.
The no votes are over there. Two no votes, three no votes, and three yes votes.
you can now the mayor has the choice whether to break the tie or he cannot
Let it lay.
Let it lay.
Right.
And it
If
can
you're at
just
a
be a
tie, it
tie.
does not- if it's a tie,
That's
it
the
does not
mayor's
pass.
choice, is a tie.
I'm voting in favor of the staff's recommendation.
So it's no.
No.
Okay, that's it. Let's go.
Item number 16.
Report from the Traffic Engineering Committee regarding a request from the Community and Economic Development Department for the removal of a loading zone on the east side of the 100 block of 19th Street.
Move to approve the request as recommended and direct the city attorney to prepare the necessary paperwork.
Second.
Moving second. Is there discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Item number 17.
Report from the mayor regarding a reappointment and appointments to the Rock Island Library Board of Directors.
Approve the reappointments and appointments as recommended.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion?
Yes, could we have the name of the people coming on the board? I know them, but the
Sure.
public
Sure.
should be able to know who they are.
One is Kevin Koski. It's a reappointment.
Right.
The other one is Jackie Nelson. And the third one is Elizabeth Russell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any way that we could just include the names of the appointees in the report from the mayor regarding an appointment of so-and-so to the library board instead of having to click the hyperlink in the minute, or in the agenda?
Agenda?
I mean,
But we can look at that. Typically, we don't put any detail in there on any item, not just this, payments or anything. There's not a lot of
Okay.
detail in there, but we can look at that as an option.
Sure.
But they check with Dave, and we can talk it over.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Other business.
I have a quick question. If the gentleman that requested the yield sign, which was denied, wants to approach the council again, is there a period of time that has to go by, or can he come back again anytime?
Go ahead, Randy. I think.
He should submit another request with more detail, specifically whether he's looking for the street or the avenue would be the proper way to do it, I think.
Yeah, and if
But
we
is there a
have more,
time limitation? Can he come back next
He
week?
can come back anytime, and
Okay.
he would have to go to the Traffic Engineering Committee again, and, maybe with some signatures of the neighborhood.
and if we have more, I like to have signatures when we're voting on something like that. So if he could come back and talk with us, then that would be a little better.
Very good. Any other, do you have someone in the audience who would like to speak?
Oh, sorry, I do have something I'd like to say.
Yes.
This Sunday, June 25th, at the Lincoln Park Small Shelter, the Keystone Neighborhood Association is having its annual summer general meeting. This is a potluck, so bring a dish to share. From 4 to 6 p.m. We'll be serving at 4:30. There's going to be some, I believe, some meats provided through Tyson, donated as well. So meats, drinks, and dining ware will be provided. This will be a short program to recognize the neighborhood volunteers, explain the homes that have been approved for health and safety work through the Keystone Rebuild effort, the recognize city and rebuilding leaders, and hear about some upcoming Keystone activities. Everyone up here is invited to be there. Again, that's 4 to 6 this Sunday, and and the mayor, city manager, if you would like to be there, I'll pass these down this way so everyone's got the information.
I guess with that also, got to mention that the groundbreaking for I-74 bridge is this next Monday, the 26th. I am unavailable to represent the city, so Mayor Pro Tem Josh Shipp is going to be doing that, representing the city of Rock Island in that groundbreaking over in Bettendorf.
Back to the traffic signage. Can Tim step up here, the IT director, please? I know we've been discussing creating a widget or whatever you want to call it, an online form for people to submit their traffic signage requests online. And wherever we are in that process, maybe if we include a specific request of which street is going to be the right-of-way, like for a yield sign or a stop sign. This all seems kind of bureaucratic to me, and if we can create a form online that people can submit from home, they don't have to get out a piece of paper and write a letter and mail it in or whatever, time-consuming process.
Some changes have been put in place. We're working on some of those as we speak. One of the particular challenges with it, I will say, is the whole petition part of it. And so, various members of the council are asking for handwritten signatures. We really have no way of accomplishing that electronically at this stage.
No, yeah, and that's fine. And perhaps, and I know you guys are working on it, but if you can just create the request, and then if they want, and when we vote for it, if they want to bring the signatures, then they can do that. Or,
Yeah,
I don't know.
a lot of that gets submitted to the committee for
it's
review, so
included,
they want
I
it too.
suppose.
So, not that it can't be done, but there are significant challenges with the petition.
I think it does help to have someone here, if they can have someone representative, if they can't make it or whatever, in case there's any questions explaining of their reasoning behind it. It's hard to put everything else in writing, so I think that's important to try to encourage them to be here to.
Sure.
But Dylan, if I'm right, aren't you just asking that the forms that need to be filled out, as well as maybe a petition form, be included? They're just blank forms you're asking for to be included on the internet?
Yeah, when I brought it to Tim and Randy about getting a form online, because I've had numerous neighbors say, email me and just say, hey, can we get a stop sign here? Then I have, now I got to get out a piece of paper or whatever, and submit it or email it. But I know who to email because of being an alderman, but people at home may not know who to specifically contact. So what I had asked for was an online form, just saying, what you would like and whatever. And I hadn't thought, honestly, I hadn't thought about the petition aspect of it, which of course is going to be, impossible to do online. But if you can just get the request, have a form online that then goes directly to whomever the traffic committee or whatever body would do that, and then the traffic committee can say, well, we looked at the, traffic flow or whatever, and we approve or, deny this. And then when they come to city council, have that person bring a petition then. I mean, I don't know.
Right, because the petition form, the petition form, the blank form that you would download electronically would just give you the structure to take around to your neighbors and have them sign. And then you would bring that or mail it or whatever. You wouldn't submit that electronically.
No,
but
not the petition.
But they would have all the forms that they needed, and that would be very good.
Some assistance for citizens to know what to do, to get the, because right now it's kind of just like this contact the city ephemeral thing. And if we can at least get, an email or whatever up, or a form that you can fill out exactly which intersection, what streets would you like to have the right-of-way, et cetera. Just a little more direction for people, I think, would be helpful.
And I think staff interpreted the request as you were looking for something that could be filled out completely online.
I am.
Not a downloadable form.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That is what I did ask for.
Input your information right from the site, click submit, and be done. Mm-hmm. That's what we interpreted your request.
That is what I had asked. I didn't think about the petition. So have the form that you can fill out, submit, and then bring the petition with you when we vote on it to city council.
We would like the petition, though, as part of the package.
Oh.
That way, when the council sees it, they see the petition. It's really almost too late, here because you've already considered the issue. So we like to get that as part of the whole package. There is a single point of contact at Public Works that answers all of these questions.
That's right.
So if we have the form and a contact information, then I think that'll make a big difference.
Okay. I think folks need to know, having gone through this before with my constituents, is that, let me just ask you this, Randy, do you think there's an intersection in this city that doesn't have a stop sign where it should?
I'm unaware of any, but there may be. I'm not familiar with every intersection, so I don't.
I ask that question because I believe 9 out of 10 times staff's going to recommend against these because the engineering requirements are such that they're just not going to get approved. The stop signs are predominantly where the stop signs are because they need to be there. So I think folks at home just have to understand this just takes a little bit of elbow work and working with your elbow grease and working with your alderman. You get your signatures, you come to your alderman, you say, I need you to be my champion, carry this through. I think that, and you got to be here. I have no doubt we'd ultimately approve this, but we do need to see some signatures and a little bit of presence here just to know that this is that important.
I agree with you wholeheartedly because otherwise one person can request a stop sign or a yield sign, and without the support of the rest of the surrounding neighbors, it can be approved, and maybe everybody else is against it.
Right.
So we need to see something.
Some democracy in action.
Yeah,
that's right.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We did have a study session today at 5:30, and part of it was pertaining to the library. I'm the representative on the library board. I'd like to invite anybody out there tomorrow at 5 o'clock. The library board meets at the library, not in the dungeon here at City Hall. So if you're interested in the future of the libraries of the city of Rock Island, please come to our meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Good. You bet. With that, someone has said, Vince is signed up he would like to talk. If you could say your name and your address, please.
Vince Thomas, 1021st Street. I know you, thank you for that invitation. And I just want to say I was at the study session and I listened intently to the presentation. And I know it's just at a proposal stage right now, but I thought you need to be aware of some of the history that I know. I was an employee of the library from 1969 to 72. I was employed as a director of the city. The library received a grant to try and develop a inner city interest in libraries. And so our first little library was at, which is now called Century Woods, and in an apartment, and we moved later on to right across from Hickman Center in what used to be an old grocery store, and we were there till 72. But during that time, there was the main library, the librarian had asked for a survey to be done, study to be done about library usage, etc. It was called the Peterson Survey. And the survey suggested that in a city of less than population 75,000 could not afford a branch library. The reason that was brought up was because the mayor of that time wanted to have a library pay for a fire station. And as you know, that's what happened at 3030. We had a fire station with the library next door. And one of the reasons the survey said was this was not a good idea to have that, especially when, number one, you can't afford it. Number two, branch libraries are very expensive. And number three was that suddenly when the fire alarm goes off, you might startle some of the patrons. In any case, what happened was we not only built that one, we built another one because the developer in Southwest had promised a library out there, and so we have a joint fire station and library in Southwest. We had increased, by the time I left the library, and I joined Project Now then, we had increased the number of inner city, say the West Side, inner city patrons by 700 to 800 new patrons at the main library. And we also increased the usage, the number of magazines, the kinds of books. We developed a research library on black history, et cetera, et cetera. So all that was happening by the time I left. And about a year later, the library from 9th Street was moved to the King Center. And we had a library in the King Center. I was not associated with it at that time. But for a lack of $12,000, the King Center library ended. And the branch, there were no services. The library used to have a big van which went around to different neighborhoods, and even that was stopped in the end. They couldn't afford it. So when listening this afternoon, I just wonder why we think with a declining population that we can continue to sustain another library and then try to build a new one. Moline, which has a population of 44,000 plus or more, has only one library, no branches. And as you know, the main library, which was downtown, eventually closed and sits empty. So I was reflecting on that with one of the aldermen downstairs, is that perhaps that's what's going to happen if we move up on, as we say, up on the hill. And for those of us who are interested in developing downtown, this is just another reason why I wouldn't have to go downtown, because I got the library up here. And so I just wonder if, I don't know how to put this in other words, are we developing a class situation where that's one of the reasons why some people say they are not going and using the downtown library. It's downtown, and everybody knows. And in fact, they now have a contracted police officer in the facility all the time. So there are reasons why this has happened. And some of us who've studied the situation and why we had to even have then increased inner city usage of the library. And the only magazine at that time at the library was Jet magazine. Ebony magazine. They didn't want to have Jet magazine because, again, that class situation is who reads Jet. So, which has gone out of business now. But the fact is that we were experiencing that kind of class situation at that time, and I think we'll experience that again. And the loss is going to be for the people who are closest to the library. And I really think we need to ask the Tri-City Jewish Center to try and figure out a different way of disposing of their center. Then somebody came up with this idea, and it's sort of now become given to the city to decide, are you going to invest $10 to $20 million in this new facility? and I think it's a loss for us, those who live close by to the downtown library. You've got Augustana Library up on the hill, beautiful library. You can get any kind of book you want. You can, so I don't think the people up on the hill are really going to be deprived of library usage. And I don't think we can afford it. If we're going to spend $22 million, we should be thinking of how to attract people. I don't think people are leaving town because they don't like our library. And I don't think they're going to come to town because we've got a brand new, strong Wi-Fi facility up on the hill. We need more people, and I think the city council should think about more affordable housing for people.
Thank you, Vance. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to comment
Yes.
on that. Vince, for one thing, we do not have police officers at the library. We have hired a security company. They are not police officers that are there. They don't carry guns, okay? And the other thing, if you look at that library from the main entrance, that library has my name on it, Virgil, right up on the top. And as long as I'm sitting on this council, they'll never close that library, okay? You got my word on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I comment as well?
Yes.
I think, Vince, you bring up very good points. And, yeah, every single one of us here on this council may today, and for the remainder of our tenure here on city council, may say that library is never going away. But are we all going to be here in 20, 30 years? No. And that's what is the concern. In 20, 30 years from now, do they say, well, we can't afford it. There's a different body here. Get rid of the downtown library. So it is a legitimate concern for the future of the library. However, I mean, I'm torn on this library issue as it stands, because I would agree that there is, maybe not as obvious or pronounced or whatever, but there is a class differentiation between below the hill and above the hill. We all joke about it. We all know it. And what I guess I'm hopeful for with a renovated downtown library is the establishment of the quote-unquote creative class in our downtown communities. You know, lots of literature has been written about the quote-unquote creative class, the Silicon Valleys of our communities. And not that they are a cash cow and golden cow that is going to solve all of our problems, but unless we do things to invest in things like makerspaces, like co-working communities, like a library that is focused on doing more than providing written material, not that that's not important, but we need to be fostering a creative class here in the city of Rock Island. Entrepreneurs, creative thinkers, problem solvers, they are the future of this city. And so I am torn on this because we need to be sure that the downtown library does not go away like Moline's. I mean, I think it is a legitimate concern. It's not a frivolous thing. But at the same time, we need to enhance the downtown library. I mean, we can't simply just continue with status quo with the downtown library. Absolutely. It's unsustainable. So the question is, what do we do? And I guess that's what this body will be deliberating.
It will, but I think that's the idea of the library board and the foundation to come to us with a plan. I think it's fair that we give them the input at this point so they can help develop that plan and bring it to the city council.
And Mayor, if I may add to that, I feel that the options that we've been presented, it seems that there's one that's been removed rather noticeably in my mind, which was the expansion of the downtown library. There was at one point a beautiful plan that I saw that we put money and resources into the downtown library to continue that tradition of investment down there, and it was noticeably absent today. Mm-hmm. And I think that if we are going to be a partner asked to be at this table, from what I understand, I was told it's because the funding wouldn't be there. And in my heart of hearts, that ties into what Thomas has made, Vince Thomas has made. Exactly. So we have some real deep issues here, historical issues here. And this, we're talking about the oldest public library in the state of Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a treasure, a national treasure, in my opinion. And so, you know, we put a lot of money into our downtown plan last year. A lot of aspects of that are about bringing people downtown. We felt a lot of stress and anxiety when the county was talking about moving their building out of the downtown. So I think every piece matters down there. And I think it'd be helpful if we can broaden that discussion. If the council's a key part of this, what happens to that plan?
But, and I think what my memory was with the downtown having one and then closing the 3031 is you were going to be at 25 million. And with this plan, what I heard today is that the Southwest will remain the same, and the other two will be completely renovated, is what I heard tonight. And it's 5 million less than just having one. So, and you got two locations serving all of Rock Island. So that's what I heard tonight.
The final quick point I'll make to that is, and Alderman Parker here can contest that, is we hear a lot of numbers at this council. And we heard a lot of numbers about what it was going to take for Hauberg. And I think the people who've been closest to that can tell us that.
Well, we had an architect, and I don't. Maybe it was long ago. You weren't
and
here.
My point here, I was here, Alderman Talanier, is that we can find another architect who could tell us 15 million, who could tell us 12 million.
Fine.
For different
I
plans.
understand.
For similar goals, different plans.
Sure, but that's not who we charged.
But ultimately, we need to work on getting this summed up here. But we do need to work within our financial means of the city and of the library board. And bottom line, that's what it comes to. Sure. Whether it's just downtown, whether it's both buildings, whether it's a scaled back just downtown, whatever it is, we've got to, you know, for the sake of the citizens, live within our budgets, whether it be today or whether it be even 20 years from now. And so that's what we got to take a strong consideration of, whatever the plan brings to us. Number 19.
Motion to adjourn to 6:45 p.m. Monday, July 10th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Need a roll call. Is that what? No, just of course. It says roll call there. That's fine.
No,
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I see. That's just that's an asterisk. That asterisk gets me every time.
Well,
Total Info Local